Oh, hey, I'm Joe Mack, and welcome back to the channel. I have finally made my way back to the Cosmere. It's time to finally read these secret projects, and of course, I started with Tress of the Emerald Sea. Let's talk about it. Tress of the Emerald Sea was a good book. I really enjoyed it. It felt great to finally be back into some fantasy, into a more palatable sized novel after those chonkers that were Shadows Upon Time and Empire of the Dawn. It's been a long time since I've read Sanderson, and in fact, to be honest with you, I still have not read Wind and Truth. Who knows when I'll get to that? But Trust of the Emerald Sea was a great reintroduction for me into the Cosmere to ease my way back into Sanderson's prose and storytelling and the Cosmere itself. Having these stories narrated to us by Hoyd is such a wonderful touch, and I think it adds a little extra element, a little zing to the overall storytelling than just the story itself. Getting those purposeful fourth wall breaks, as Hoyd informs us of some, you could call them in the margins tidbits as he tells us this story, and I really enjoyed that. The tone of it being told to us really comes through at times, and that was something that I really enjoyed. I've seen some rumblings that Tress of the Emerald Sea is a potential starting point for those who are entering the Cosmere. Now, I agree with that on the one hand of the way that it's written and the content of the story, the length of the story. I would tend to see where people are coming from when they say that. However, due to the assumption that you know something about Hoyd in the way that he delivers lines about himself and insinuates a certain level of knowledge from the listener, I would say that it might serve you better maybe post Mistborn. Personally, I still think Elantris is a great place to start. It is one of the weaker novels, it's a great book, just being Sanderson's first, and then going through Mistborn, and then maybe jumping into Tress as far as that goes. But enough about the Cosmere as a whole. Let's focus mostly on just Tress. Now, Tress takes that, and it even kind of hits you with it, right? That general story trope of damsel in distress, and really flips it on its head. And I think that is super endearing. I really enjoyed Tress as a character. I think she was a wonderfully written female character. She had a lot of urgency. She overcame a lot of obstacles and grew quite quickly into the role that she found herself in, really taking charge when she had to. Watching her character growth and the way that Brandon was able to write her and the dialogue that surrounds her and the other characters in this book were done very well. I absolutely recommend reading this book if you have any curiosity about the Cosmere, any of the secret novels, or Brandon standalones, as this is one of the few standalones that he has out there. It's definitely a read it. As far as the overall implications to the Cosmere as a whole, if you are someone who might be in the middle of it and are wondering about the larger implications, or if this falls into necessary reading, I would say probably closer to no. It's a great time, and if you enjoy the Cosmere and you have the time and you can, afford the book or on Kindle or whatever, I think it's definitely worth reading. But as far as implications to Stormlight, I don't see any. It's just a good story, right? It's I don't think it's a waste of your time. But as far as Cosmere implications, there's not really much there. Tress of the Emerald Sea is about a girl who lives on an island which she is not allowed to leave by royal decree. And not just her, but everybody who lives on this island is, by law, not allowed to leave. And that's pretty wild. She has a budding relationship with the Duke's son. And as she slowly comes to terms with those feelings, the Duke's son is sent off to find a princess to marry. Tress has a large affection for cups. That's her knickknack and hobby of choice on this island. She likes to collect cups from different places from the sailors who come in and do business on the island with the island folk. Overall, she's in the beginning a very innocent girl, very capable, continues to refer to herself as very unremarkable, and she doesn't seem to fit in with the other girls. Not that she's one of those not like other girls kind of girls, but the other girls seem to shun her. And there's a call to action, and Tress has to set off on an adventure. One of the first things that struck me as very cool was how these ships travel on this planet. And I don't want to be too specific or spoiler-y, just in case there are those who might be, overly sensitive, and even talking about her enjoyment of cups might have gone too far. But it made me think of how the ship in Hyperion travels, and I thought that was a cool callback. For me, I don't know if it was necessarily intentional as an Easter egg, or if that was Brandon just doing his creative storytelling there. But it did make me think of the first Hyperion book, and I got enjoyment out of that, at least. Tress is well written. It's a good book. It's tough. I really struggle. If you've been around at all over the past year while I've been doing this, I'm not good at spoiler-free discussion about stuff. I just want to say everything. I mean, it's a very classic rescue story. With some curveballs, maybe some tropes flipped on their head, but it is a rescue story, and I think it's well done. There's an animal companion, which is always lovely. There's pirates. Yeah, it was very good. I'm not doing numbers anymore, as I said. As I said earlier, I recommend reading it. Let's get to read it. But if I had to put this like on a Cosmere scale, I would say this is like very middle of the road Brandon Sanderson. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing exceptional or very standout from it. It is purely like good book. Good soup. Shall we talk about some spoilers? Shall we talk about the details? Let's do it. Sanderson does it again with another awesome magic system. Very unique. The more that I think about it, like, it's kind of specifically unique, but generally similar to some of the other stuff that he does, right? You have the spores. Each different spore is usable for a different task. When each one, when it's wet, they're all unique in their own right. And it does remind me of Mistborn in that sense, right? Where each individual metal is used for a certain thing, or each individual ingested metal has something unique about it. It also makes me think of Lightbringer by Brent Weeks, where each color has their own unique thing that they're best at. I thought that was a very cool way to kind of continue to have these magic systems be ingrained in the planet that they're located on. So I thought that was very well done. It was very, very Sanderson, and I love that. Tress kind of is a Mary Sue in the sense that she accomplishes everything she sets out to do. She's unique in the sense, just like Hoyt says, that she thinks before she acts, but she, ends up being very good with spores, gets over her fear with spores, talks her way into or out of the situation she needs to be into or out of. Doesn't really have any poor qualities about her, befriends an animal companion, and that whole like Huck couldn't say Chuck, which is short for Charles, who is Charlie thing was super cool. Didn't see it coming. Wasn't thinking about there being any sort of misleading or like in your face secrets in this particular story. So that reveal there at the end was very nice. Also, like the laptops and clear like the security system and tablets and everything that were being used. Wondering if that's like a Mistborn Era 3 thing because of the advancement of the technology. We haven't seen that in any other Cosmere novel up to this point, and we know that Sanderson wants things to progress in Mistborn at least, so I'm wondering when we'll see that. It seems that the Sorceress is one of the original destroyers of Ad Nalasium. At least that's how I interpreted it, based on her relationship with Hoyd and the powers and technology that she had. And, that entire thing's, referenced a couple times. It's not really gone in depth. If you are new to the Cosmere and this is one of the first things that you have written, it definitely kind of plants that seed of what the hell is going on. But it is rewarding for us if you have read, no matter how much of the Cosmere you've read, but if you've gotten at least that much of the information before reading this book, it is kind of like a reward for you, a little Easter egg. But I loved all that stuff. I love how Hoyd, because I'm a little bit into Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, but how Hoyd is being made to where he's like, he's there in the story, but in this he's a bumbling idiot because of a curse. And I see that trend continuing in Yumi, and I'm curious if that trend is going to continue further into The Sunlit Man and Isles of the Emberdark. I know I have them displayed behind me, all the secret projects, but to be honest with you, with everything else that I want to read, and I don't know if I'm going to read the Frugal Wizard one, just because I know it's a true standalone, not standalone on the Cosmere, but standalone on its own. So I probably honestly won't end up checking that one out just to make the most of my time. And so I can read these, have all my Cosmere, maybe eventually tackle Wind and Truth, and then just be ready for what's next whenever that happens to be. But I really like Tress. Not the greatest thing that he's written, but still good. Like very, just like I said earlier, like good. Nothing to complain about. Love the color, love the art, love the voice, love the characters. Nothing bad to say about this one. So, what did you guys think of Tress and the Emerald Sea? Where did you read it? In the beginning, before, during, or after the rest of your Cosmere journey? Did you like all the tidbits and Easter eggs that Hoyd left us? Did you like the way that he told us this story and those in the margin fourth wall breaks that happened? How did you enjoy Brandon taking that classic damsel in distress trope and turning it on its head, where the guy's the one who needs to be rescued? Did you like the magic system? What's your favorite Secret Project novel? What's your favorite Cosmere novel? God, there's so much we can talk about in the Sanderson universe. Let me know, guys. Get in the comments. Love you. Bye. When wet, when activated, performs a different... when each one, or is when it's wet, they're all unique